Welcome back to the Survivor version of Why Blank Lost. As we kick off things for the 10th anniversary season of this podcast with our Survivor 49 preview. I'm David Bloomberg, and I'm excited to be joined once again by my co-host, Jessica Lewis.
Here I am, and although I have not been with you for 10 years, I am so excited that you have been doing this for that amount of time and that I have been with you for a significant amount of that time.
Yes.
So thank you again for welcoming me to join you in this new upcoming season of Survivor, which we have much to discuss.
Yes, we do. Now, for those of you who are also Big Brother watchers, you've already seen me here every week. Or as it happens twice this past week. But Jessica, you've had a summer off of the podcast. How are you doing?
Well, it's interesting. I had to get myself back into the swing of things with this. It's been a while. My sea legs are not really where they need to be, but we'll get there. We will definitely get there. And I'm sure that the listeners will be ready to hear who my winner pick is going to be that will not win, that will then just negatively affect the entire course of their trajectory in the game. So get ready, because that certainly I do not think has changed.
Yes. For anyone who is a new listener, that is generally the concept here, that Jessica curses, goes back in time and curses her winner pick. And
I really don't.
And welcome to anyone who is a new listener. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. As a reminder to the latter and to bring the former up to speed, once the season starts, every week we will discuss the player who was voted out and what they did right and wrong in terms of rules I originally wrote way back after season 1 of Survivor and have been updating ever since. We look at each episode and also back to everything that's led up to it, going beyond what's on TV to dive into everything that's available that's not a spoiler, including interviews, secret scenes, social media, and more.
Yes.
And before we even get to those podcasts, we are going to be back once more in the preseason for a special 10th anniversary podcast.
Yeah.
So that'll be in about a week. We will be reminiscing a bit, talking about some changes we've seen over the past 10 years of Survivor, over the time we've done this podcast. So actually, listeners, if you have any moments from the podcast that stand out in your mind, feel free to send them in, because it's funny. What I've noticed is sometimes listeners will remember things better than we do.
That is fair. And listeners, if any of you want to remind everyone about David Bloomberg's rapping abilities, I would appreciate
well, I don't remember that.
Oh, I do. Please, listeners, please.
I think that's not, that was a dream. That was only
a
dream.
You made me laugh so hard that day, because I was not expecting you to be rapping. So I will say that's one of my favorite moments. If we're going to be reminiscing, I'll talk about that.
Write that on your list then. Yes.
I will. I'll start my list.
All right. Well, listeners, by now you've all had time to either see Mike Bloom's interviews or listen to them on RHAP or read them in Parade if you wanted, plus other information that's out there about the players. I do want to mention that although Mike and Rob discussed what they think about each tribe, I have purposely avoided that this season. I just don't want my predictions to be affected by anyone else. So, like, if you hear me make the same joke as they made, which has actually happened in the past, that's why. Also, we know that 2 players from 49 will be on Survivor 50. We are giving our thoughts and making our predictions without that in mind. As a matter of fact, I didn't even remember who one of them was. One is kind of hard to forget. But the point is, there are no spoilers here. And the thing is, I know it's easy to say, oh, well, they must have done really well. Maybe they won. One, I would like to hope, maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I would like to hope that Jeff and Survivor Production would not take the winner of 49 and put them on 50.
Yes.
Because it is so obvious. So I'd like to hope they didn't do that. And 2, I could actually see Jeff picking someone maybe I'm kidding myself, who didn't make it terribly far, but had a really good personality, and Jeff thought they needed another shot.
Yeah. Well, and they have done that. There
Mhm.
were people from my season that went on to Game Changers.
Right.
Michaela, being one of those two people, and she didn't even make the merge, but she clearly left an impression on
Mhm.
the entire production team, so much so that they brought her back immediately. So 100% those things can happen. We've seen them bring people back who have not made it that far, but did make an impression. And we know some of the people who are
We've
on
seen them bring
50.
back some. We've seen them bring back some people who did make it far and didn't leave an impression, which was the weird
Well,
stuff.
and this is why I'm always curious about some of the choices, because
Mhm.
even with season 50, some of them are head scratchers. Some of them make perfect sense. And so you never know what CBS is
Yeah.
going to be looking for. You really don't. They're trying to create a particular type of narrative story. And by putting all of these personalities together. So, yes, that was something that I was mindful of going in, but I also understand that CBS makes choices that sometimes we don't understand, sometimes we do, and it's their show. They can really do what they want. They've proven that time and time again, haven't
And this
they?
is our show, and so we'll say what we want about what they do.
I'm so sorry that if I upset or trouble anyone with my opinions, but I do have some. I do have some.
There's a reason you're not on 50, Jessica, and it's my fault. I'm sorry.
I blame myself. I'm a little vocal about certain things, and I haven't shied away from it. But
Mhm.
yes, yeah, there's probably some distaste in some people's mouths about things that I've said. It's okay.
Yeah. So anyway, with that in mind, no spoilers here, mostly because we don't know anything, but we're not even
Right.
going to mention who those two are if somehow you've managed to avoid them. Our goal here is to spend a few minutes on each player to pick out the highlights. And because we have so many of them, we're going to be going through this quick. Like we're aiming, we never hit what we're aiming, but we're aiming to spend like 5 or 6 minutes on each person. Just because otherwise we'll be here forever. And so we will pick out the highlights, or in some cases the lowlights, that tell us something about how the person will play the game, especially in relation to my rules. At the end, we will each pick who we think will do the best and the worst. And as a reminder, 5 seasons ago, someone on this podcast got the winner prediction correct.
Oh, but now we're at 5 seasons. Okay.
Yeah, I just keep ticking that up every season. It's like 3, 4,
You're
5.
you're doing much better than I am, though.
Yeah.
Much better than I am. I've said this before, the only winner pick I have ever made, and not when I was on this podcast, that I was correct on was JT, and that was a very long time ago. So, yeah. So that's my last time to have done so.
And
Yay.
mine was Jam Jam. So
Yes, it was, which a lot of the players did
yes,
reference, I will say. So he's
yes,
left an impression on quite a few that we will be seeing in season
yeah.
49.
So also, I want to remind everyone, listeners and especially contestants tuning in, remember we're basing almost everything off of a relatively small information. So if we say it sounds like someone's game will be terrible, I mean, very occasionally we don't get it right. There's the off chance we could be wrong, like a couple seasons ago when one of us here said that the person who ended up winning was going to be like one of the first out.
Why do we have to bring that up again? I said I was sorry. And it's the butterfly effect. It worked in the opposite,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yes. Yes. But like I said, don't get upset that we say this.
Right.
Um,
We know nothing other than what we're reading on paper, and
right.
we're trying to pull from that little bit of information what we can
Mhm.
about how their game is going to be. So yes. Give us
All
some
right.
grace.
So let's get started. We're going to go through each tribe alphabetically by first name. And we will start with Jason. And for those of you on video, you can see that we have pictures up. Whoop, let me get that thing out of Jason's head there. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So we're starting with the yellow tribe, Hina. But let's face it, we'll probably mostly be calling it the yellow tribe.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason is 32. He's an ex-software engineer turned lawyer. He's in California, and he clearly knew who Mike Bloom was when he did the interview. He's been watching on and off since Gabon and came in, as an alternate.
Yes. Yeah,
Now,
which is really quite crazy, right?
yeah. I mean, it's good that both alternates got in this season. It's good for them.
Yeah.
It's not good for the two people who apparently broke the rules and were sent packing. Someday we may find out the whole story about that, but it probably won't be anytime soon.
It's very fascinating. It's very fascinating.
Yes. So Jason says he's just a small little guy and people will underestimate him. But when I was looking at his whole tribe, he's not particularly small. So maybe he means like muscle wise, like he's thinner, he's not bulked up. I don't know.
And he might even just mean small too in his presence, where
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I appreciate the fact that he was presenting himself. And I do love it when people do this pregame in a particular way. And he wanted to be kind of seen as a Poindexter. Like he understands how people might view him and think like, oh, he's the puzzle guy, right? Like that's what he's going to be. He's been playing on his Game Boy the whole time he was there, which was actually noted by other players. But he was using his Game Boy to take notes on the players, which I thought was fantastic. I love that so much because it's so unprecedented. I've never heard anybody using a Game Boy to take notes about people and to throw everyone off, because to others, it appeared as if he wasn't paying any attention to anybody because he's just playing video games the whole time. I love that about him. So he's clearly thinking game, even though he wasn't alternate until the very, very last second, it sounds. But still had enough foresight and thought through this process of how he should present himself in this moment.
Yeah. I think we both have to like Jason because he was a science and math guy and an engineer who decided to become a lawyer.
I know. What a combo.
I mean, I wasn't a lawyer, but I basically played one while I was an engineer for like 30 years and told the lawyers what to do because they were always wrong. Not always, just often.
Sensitive topic.
I didn't say you didn't work for me or with me.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, Jason has clearly done his homework, which is understandable considering he self-studied to become a software engineer and then went to night school while working a full-time job to become a lawyer. So, for example, in relation to Rule 7, he knows why it's a bad idea to go on a journey early. But he thinks as the game goes on, you can get advantages that will be helpful. I'm a little iffy on that last part, but at least the first part he has well.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say he also seems like he expects to do well at Rule 3 because he says he kicks ass at adapting and learning from mistakes. Now, the problem is in Survivor, sometimes it only takes one mistake and you have no more to learn from.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I want to give him credit for the adaptability component, but I feel like, and maybe this was just my read, so many players describe themselves as adaptable. It was almost like I was reading the same thing over and over again, where they've like determined I have to be adaptable in this game. Like, yes, you do, which is why it's one of the rules, but also, are you really going to be, or are you just saying that you will be adaptable? So I am curious, but it sounds like he has enough things in his backstory that show that he's willing to change when needs be and do things differently when needs be. So perhaps he will be someone who is adaptable. And I'm hoping that that's what we do see from him, because I really did find him enjoyable. And I love the fact that, and I know we haven't spoken about her yet, but the person who is the top of his list that he would like to connect with and maybe work with is on his tribe. So it will be very interesting to see if he's able to solidify that relationship and utilize his initial impressions of her to then further his own game. So I'm very curious about Jason and how his adaptability will work in that regard. We'll see.
If his adaptability will be adaptable.
Right.
Yeah. I did not spend too much time looking at their pregame, who they might want to work with, who they might not want to. I feel like that's just so hard to, does it come into play sometimes? Yes. Usually if someone annoys someone else.
Yes.
So I think we'll look at it in retrospect, but I'm glad you looked at that because I mostly did not.
And I did because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that person that's like, oh, I can't stand that person, or this person was frustrating me, which we do have on this tribe. So
Mm.
we'll talk about that too. But yes, and I like seeing if there are those pre-game uh, ideas about people, because from someone who has gone through the process, I did the same exact
Mhm.
similar thing. I there were people that I was like, I think I'm going to jive with the person. I don't think I'm going to jive with that person. And it did become part of the game that I then started to play.
Mhm.
So I do think that it can have an effect on how they approach the game. So, and she seems to be the person that he's interested in. Is someone who a lot of people seem to be
Mm.
noticing. So perhaps it's just her personality and it's really not going to lend
Yeah.
any significance to her game itself. It might just be who she is. So we'll see.
Yeah. One thing that threw me off right away, and this is one of the few things I saw was one person was talking about Rizzo and the book that Rizzo was reading. And then we got to the interview with Rizzo, and Rizzo said, I didn't bring any reading materials. And I'm like, well, wait, what? So
Yeah,
that was like, okay, now I'm already confused. I'm just, forget this. I don't know who to believe here. Um,
that's funny. Yeah, I
I,
can't remember. I know the book that you're referencing. I didn't associate that with Rizzo. I couldn't figure out who they were talking about.
I mean, they gave his initials and said straight brown hair, which he has.
Oh, okay. See, I
Um,
missed the initial part. So that's
yeah.
why I was like trying to figure out.
So,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so speaking of which, by the way, before we get there, I do think it's funny that one of them they were talking about MC. Those are her initials, and that's also what she goes by. So they don't even have to learn a new name, you
I
know.
know. Yeah, I thought that was great. That's great.
But getting back to Jason, I liked how he talked about being scared, but also being brave and facing the fear to push through it, and also
Mm.
leading with vulnerability. I just felt right off the bat he is one to keep an eye on.
Yes, I don't disagree. He sounds like someone who is he's scrappy, and he's able to determine things based upon what his needs are. And if he sees like the law school component, he was working for Google
Mhm.
and was like, "Oh, maybe Google will pay for law school," and found out that they would, and then all of a sudden completely shifted and changed his the course of
And
his
then he quit
future, if you
Google.
will.
It's like Google, guys, you got to get a better program, or at least they got to stay working for you for a while.
Right?
You know?
But I love that he has that component to him
Yeah.
where he's like, I'm going to take this opportunity, even though it might not be what I want to do, but I'm going to utilize it for what
Hmm.
I need it for, which can certainly translate into the game, because he might form a relationship based
Right.
upon that, and it's going to further his game. And so I think Jason is definitely going to be one to watch, because he seems like he's got that scrappy component to him, but also seems very like focused on end result thinking, which I do enjoy.
All right. Well, we can move on to Christina. She is 36 and a career coach who used to be an engineer, uh, originally from Houston and now in Oklahoma. She started watching at season 34 and went through a really rough period in her life, and Survivor helped her pull through it. Um,
Mm.
so another player, like I said, who used to be an engineer, and she considers herself a nerd like Jason. So if these two don't get along, I don't know who will.
Well, and she just happens to be Jason's number one pick.
Mm.
Like he mentioned her specifically, and she also described herself as adaptable. So, it is one of these like very interesting
Mm-hmm.
mixes that might come together. And I do think that she mentioned him as well in her she mentioned JI as having good vibes from JI. So she's clearly talking about him too. So she's been eyeballing him at Ponderosa. So there is a very distinct possibility that they will come together, because they have both noticed each other pregame, and they do have these very similar backgrounds, if you will, with the engineering component. So and social nerd component, I guess
Yes.
you could focus on as well. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to see these two.
Yeah, I mean, she said she connects really well with people, and by the end of one conversation, they feel protective of her.
Mm.
Now, the funny thing is, she said she doesn't want to have to take advantage of that, but might have to. And to that, I say, yes, you do have to. It's a Survivor.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
absolutely. And that's a great component of yourself to bring to this game, knowing that you just have this something about yourself that's going to cause people to want to be loyal to you. I thought that was really quite fantastic. And she wants to be so loyal that she wants to go to the end with whatever two
mhm,
people she basically decides are her two people, which nowadays in Survivor, that doesn't seem to happen that often, but it does. And when it works out exceptionally well. We've seen it in the past. There's been maybe 2 seasons as of late in the 40 numbers, I guess
mhm.
you could say, where they really did all go to the end together. So perhaps maybe she and Jason will
Yeah,
be, part of that
yeah.
trio.
Now, one problem for her, she said when she lies, it shows on her face. But she also said if she's trying to get a good deal, she becomes the best actress and can lie her ass off. That's the person she's going to have to channel. But the problem seems to be if she doesn't have time to prepare and is caught off guard, like, hey, did you just eat the last of the rice? Uh, me? No. Uh,
Right. Yeah. Or at the water well.
yeah.
Were you thinking about voting off so and so?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
We've seen that before
She's,
too.
yeah. She's going to have to prepare for that one. Uh, Now, in terms of Rule 7, she says she will look for idols, but not tell anyone. And she knows what to say to make us happy here because when she was asked about what she thinks of people who tell others about their idols, she said, I just think people need to keep their damn mouths shut.
Yes, thank you. Like, beautiful. Yes, keep your damn mouth shut. You don't need to tell everyone. But also, if it's hard for her to lie, that'll be interesting. But if she's
Mm-hmm.
prepared herself ahead of time, then
Right.
perhaps she will be able to do that appropriately.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else on Christina before I
Well,
move on?
I
I'm
do
sorry.
want to just mention one thing that I mean, she has a Suri giggle. I don't know if you, and I'm very curious if that's part of her. She is one of the individuals, and I've already mentioned this with in talking about Jason, but that a lot of people notice at
Mm-hmm.
Ponderosa. She seems to have an effervescence about herself, where she's smiling. So her idea of people coming to her and liking her already seems to be something that exists, but that could potentially backfire because there are people that I've noticed in this group as well that are worried about the social game already and who's going to be good at it. And they might be looking at Christina and going, gee, she seems really likable and she seems like she has this quality about her. And we all know how great Suri was at this game. And if she's got a giggle like Suri, which they picked up on, I do think that she might be looking at some components of her game that could
Mm-hmm.
become difficult, but it also might work out to her benefit because if she's really good at making people like her and they want to be loyal, then it might work out great.
All right. Let's move on to Matt. And I'm going to change things around a bit here. Instead of keeping us little tiny off to the side, I'm going to, after people get a good look at Matt, I'll put us back on the screen here. But um, he is the oldest player at 52. And by the way, nothing against Matt. I'm not just doing it because of him. Like I'm going to shrink you down, Matt. Just feels weird to be so tiny for the whole podcast.
I'm
He
okay with being tiny. That's fine.
He is an airport ramp agent who used to be in finance, and he is from Utah. His wife got him into Survivor 10 or 12 years ago, and they binged past seasons. Now, he hopes to play like Kenzie, which is not who I would have thought of.
Mm.
And he also hopes to play with people who think they are smarter than him. He will play a subservient role until it's time to turn it on because he thinks he's like a Trojan horse. Quote, just a funny old fat guy. He's no threat. Keep him around. He catches fish. And he's going to play the role. He said, hey, I'm here for the experience. I'm surprised they ever picked me. Let's go. Hey, you take care of that because I don't know how. And he said he thinks he can play an idiot pretty easily. Those are his words, not mine.
Yeah. I was getting very serious Paul vibes from that.
Mm,
Paul from my season.
yes.
Where just and I love Paul, I'm certain, but it was this idea of I
And what
I
happened to
like
Paul?
Paul got voted out.
And who
Fair.
voted Paul out?
It wasn't just me, it was other people, but I got mostly blamed for it. However, the issue with Paul really was that he became too overbearing, and there were components of his game that he didn't realize were negatively
Yes.
affecting him, like the commentary that he made to me about where he was ultimately going to land, and it was
Yeah.
not on my side.
Right. Right.
So I'm
So it
curious if
was your
Matt.
fault.
Well, yeah, I mean, I might have said some things to some people like, "Hey, ladies, he's not interested in working with the ladies." So putting that bit of information out there for people to chew on. I am curious if Matt will be able to control that part of himself where he made it very clear who he did not care for at Ponderosa, and she just happens to be on his tribe.
Yeah.
So this is why
Which one?
I'm Sophie.
Okay. Sophie with an
Yes,
IE.
yes, Sophie with an IE. She has the necklace, which is how I was able to put the people together
Oh,
when
that's
he
right.
was
The one
talking.
he thought said Santa Claus
Santa
or
Claus,
something.
right? So yeah, so I am very curious to see how this is going to land, because if he has a big personality,
Hmm.
she appears to have one as well. There might be some clashing there. And I don't know if he will end up kind of winning the day, because if he's just like the funny, guy that's
Hmm.
going to catch fish that no one's really threatened by, he might be someone that they're more inclined to keep along, as opposed to Sophie, if there is a dynamic issue there. But yeah, I mean, he said he's going to be loyal to a fault. So that's the opposite component, I guess, than with Paul, because Paul seemed to kind of be like, well, yeah, you, but not you. I'm going to go over here now. And I don't know if Matt is necessarily going to kind of pick someone and stick with that person, because he did say he's loyal to a fault. But he's a very interesting character for sure. And I'm fascinated to see what part of Matt is really going to be at the forefront.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt said he practiced puzzles, but doesn't plan to show that because he's going to try to act like he can't to until the end.
Mm,
And he tried making fire one time in the garage, did it quickly, and was like, okay, I'm done. And it's like, yeah, it's not going to be so easy out on Fiji.
yeah. No, it is a different world altogether,
Yeah.
making it in your backyard as opposed to out on the island.
Yeah. All right. We can move on to Michelle, or MC. I mentioned her earlier. She is 29. She's a fitness trainer and also does sales, originally from Texas, now in San Diego. She just started watching Survivor 6 months before being there with season 47.
Mm,
And then she binge watched half the seasons before coming out. Now, I have to say, I really didn't get a whole lot out of her interview, and that always worries me. It's not
mhm,
always an indicator that there's a problem, as we found out with Rachel, but it does worry me. Um, Plus, people who have heard our preview podcast before probably know what I'm about to say here about her binging so many seasons,
yeah.
which is doing that in a short time. That is not the same as watching them with time to think about them. If you
Yes.
are zipping through them all like that, you just aren't going to get it as well. No matter who you are, it leaves you at a disadvantage.
Yes, and we've seen this we had at least a couple. Star came to mind because I know
Hmm.
she was someone who binge watched all of the
Right?
seasons right before she went out. And oh, why is
Did
his name
Rome?
escaping? I feel like Rome was the same. And then
Hmm.
also who was this is terrible, I'm forgetting his name, but the gentleman who stood up during Survivor Tribal
Oh
Council.
yes, David. How do you forget David?
David. I was like, I could see a D,
I was
but I
gonna
feel
I was
like
gonna pop his picture up to remind you, but I think I deleted them all.
he did the same, where yes, that can be truly beneficial to get a very quick like cram of what the game is, but you really need more time to digest what the effects of particular moves can be long
Hmm.
term. And sometimes it takes seasons to see that, because you could go back and go, oh wait, no, that happened then and now this is happening here. So I was a little worried about that component for her as well. She is also, we should mention, one of the other alternates that
Mm,
for this season that became, which is fascinating because Sophie was an alternate for the previous, I think it was
right.
47 maybe,
48. She is
and
48.
for 48. And so now she's on this season with two people who are supposed to be
Yeah.
alternates for that. And so I'm like, I wonder if that'll come up. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so maybe that's why she was being a little more reserved, because she didn't know if she was going to
Mm,
be actually playing the
yeah.
game. She found out very last minute as well. She calls herself a people pleaser. Maybe that's good. Could be very bad. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, unfortunately, I say that about a lot of people because you don't know how it's going to fall with the other
Mhm.
people they're playing the game with. But I do think that for Michelle or MC, it might work out to her advantage because I'm looking at the tribe that she's with and the people that have already described themselves, and I think she might fit in really well with them. In addition to the fact that she appears to be very strong, she's been referenced as people have noticed her and her strength, and so she might be someone who's a necessity on the tribe for challenge purposes as well. So if she's a people pleaser and she's good at challenges, that might bode really well for keeping her around because she's not going to be rocking the boat and she's going to be doing what she can to further her tribe. So I feel like she's probably going to land well with this group of people.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that worried me like I said, I didn't get a whole lot out of it, was she talked about how she will definitely be looking for idols, and she called it a bucket list item.
Mm-hmm.
You should not, I mean, there are some people who have gone out there with a bucket list, but their bucket list is like make it past the first vote, make it to merge,
Right, right.
finding an idol really should not be a bucket list item because then you're going to be doing that instead of playing the game.
Mm-hmm. And that's fair. That's definitely a fair concern.
So I do worry about that. All right. Well, we can go from an alternate to a former alternate, as you mentioned, as we have the first Sophie, Sophie with an IE. Um, she is 31, a strategy associate for YouTube from Maryland, now in New York City. She is a lifelong fan. She watched All Stars at the age of 9. And yeah, like we just mentioned, she was an alternate. She says all of Survivor is being able to sell something to somebody else. And you're doing the math. You're trying to figure out how many people do I need to vote? Do I need to worry about this person? Corporate America is all alliances. Those aren't really, those aren't necessarily real friendships we see between companies. Those are strategic alliances. And while I see some overlap there, I'm not really sure corporate alliances are comparable to game alliances.
Mm. Well, she did say that she will always be overthinking, and maybe that's part of how she's come up with that analogy. Perhaps that's what it is. Yeah, I have some concerns for Sophie because Sophie is, I think, out of everyone who's on this tribe, she's she probably feels like, if this makes any sense at all, and is that she was an alternate for the season
Mhm.
prior, and then now she's on this season, and so she's gone into the game a little bit differently this time, but she definitely feels like someone who is a little more like, I don't know what the best, I don't want to say like aggressive, but like she wants to get in there and she wants to play. She's one of the ones that's worried about the social games of other people.
Mm.
And again, looking at the individuals in her tribe, I feel like she's going to have some individuals who are very good at making friends and are very good at like connecting. And I don't necessarily get that from Sophie. And so I'm concerned that perhaps her desire to like really play this game is going to get in the way of her forming the relationships that she needs to play the game. And then also knowing that Matt sounds like can't stand her and they're on the same tribe. And I feel like if it comes down to
Because of
it,
her Santa necklace.
oh, it wasn't the Santa necklace though. It was what she did in the tent. I don't know if you recall
Oh,
him
was
talking.
she stood up or something while everyone
She
was
turned
sitting
on her, they were in
down?
a
Yeah,
very, and I will, the dark tent, and I will
yeah.
say that they mess with you in various ways when you're out there, right? And sitting in a dark tent is one of the things they do. They take, you're not allowed to talk. They put you in a little tent, you have a chair and you're sitting there waiting. And I guess she had a lamp, a little light for her book, and she turned it on and was like taking up a lot of space and making her presence kind of known. And he was like, really? Like, this isn't all about you, you know? So like,
Well,
I just feel like there might be some headbutting there.
what he didn't know is she'd been through this once already, and therefore she knew to bring the book light and the book
Right,
for the dark tent,
right,
you know?
right. And so and I will say that that's a huge benefit for anyone,
Mhm.
because when you don't know what's going on and you have no idea what's happening, you don't know what to pay attention to, you don't know what to prepare for, you have no clue. So yeah, she's been through it once. She's like, I'm going to be ready for all of these things now because I know what's happening, I know what to expect. These other individuals don't. And
Mhm.
so I don't know. I'm very interested to see how Matt and Sophie are when they are together on the island.
It's funny because, you said, she might play too much, she might break the second rule there. But I had to laugh at what she said, which I associate with the fourth rule. She said, I'm very much playing where I'm like, this is a game. When people get really sad that they hurt someone's feelings at tribal, part of me is like, get a grip. This is a game. This is a game for
Right.
$1 million. This is 26 days. Get your head out of your ass and remember where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so,
I can appreciate
yeah,
that. I can. But it also is going to boil down to like, how do you present that to the individuals you're playing the game with? Do you come across as compassionate and do you
mhm.
pretend that you care, but then really don't? I don't feel like Sophie's going to act like she's going to pretend that she cares. But I mean, again,
Well,
I'm just,
and she even said she wears her heart on her sleeve and it's hard for her to conceal what she's feeling. So, yeah, you may be right about that one.
mm,
Um, Now, Sophie is the first of several players who mentions that journeys are terrible. As she says, a lose-lose. She said, quote, most of the time it screws you over and you don't have a vote. And it also can screw you over because you have three different people who are all telling stories about it. And maybe you're telling the truth about what happened. But what if, for some reason, someone believes someone else? There's just so much opportunity to go wrong. I don't think the benefits of a journey outweigh the risks, especially if I get to a journey and it's rolling dice. What? Absolutely not. I'm not going to leave my game up to chance. Yes, again, you go, Sophie.
yeah, I agree with wholeheartedly against the journey component. Anyone who's mentioning journeys and how they're terrible and people have to risk their vote, thank you. I give
Mhm.
you applause for that. Thank you.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
and we will continue to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to rocket scientist Steven.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't mention this yet,
Oh,
but I have to. I feel, and this is not just for Steven, you just reminded me of it when you mentioned rocket
mhm.
scientist. I do recall a few years back when Jeff Probst was like, you know what? I'm going to design a whole season around like the salt of the earth, like guy who like doesn't like, like, and the gentleman that was chosen, like that represented this component, was the one that got injured on the boat, like after like the first
Yeah.
challenge or something, and he immediately had to go home. And like, and then I'm looking at this tribe and I'm like, oh, not this tribe, the whole cast. My gosh, no one has like, they're all like geniuses, or like this guy's a rocket scientist, they've been engineers, lawyers, like, I mean, just they've traveled the world, they're starting bands, they're like, I was like, every person that I read about, I'm like, who are these people and where do they come from? It was just very like impressive group of people, because there's no like, there's no like, just like, I'm a factory worker, I'm a
I
farmer,
mean,
I
if
raise
you're a factory
chickens.
worker, you can't afford to take off a month and a half to yeah.
And that might be it as well. But so yes, I just want to throw that out there. So yes, rocket scientist, here we go, Stephen Ram, who
Yeah.
is part of this group of individuals who are like an insanely impressive group of
Yeah, is
people as well.
you mentioned his last name, and we don't usually not bother with. We don't usually delve into last names because they never come up again. But I do think as an aerospace engineer, he should have designed a jet so he could call it the Ramjet. Patent that.
That's good. I love that.
Um,
Stephen, if you're listening, there you go.
yes, $1 million idea right there.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, of course, another engineer, 35 from Colorado. And he started like so many others, although not as many this season, but so many others watching Survivor at the start of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Stephen has an interesting history in that he had undiagnosed hearing loss until his early 20s. Now, it's interesting because he just didn't know. Like, he thought this was the way it was.
Mm.
And it kind of reminds me of the first time. I mean, mine isn't as serious, but the first time I got glasses. Like, I had no idea I needed glasses. If you
Mm.
find my senior high school picture, I was not wearing glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I got glasses in high school because in a physics class, they shot a laser onto a screen and said, "You see those dots? Well, when you move your head, they should move this way. But if you're nearsighted, they move the opposite way." And I was like, "Well, that's stupid. They're moving the opposite way for me, and I'm not nearsighted."
Well,
Uh,
there you are.
yes. And so, yeah, I took an eye test and I was nearsighted. And all of a sudden, I was like him, the first time he heard keys jingle or he heard his car turn on. Like I said, much more significant for him. But like, I
Mm-hmm.
sat in class and I was like, oh, I can see the words on the blackboard and they're not blurry. I could see the clock
Incredible.
perfectly clear. I just assumed it was blurry for everybody, that this was the distance you were at.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like I said, much more significant for him. And it caused him to compensate in other ways. So he considers himself a great listener, observer, and
Mm.
communicator. He said, I got good at making eye contact, reading body language, picking up on subtle context clues, shift in energy. I can sense the shift if a vibe has changed, probably, hopefully, quicker than most people can. And now that I've got hearing aids, I kind of feel a bit like a superhero at time because I still have that sixth sense.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's going to work out great for this game.
mhm.
Yeah. Very much.
I also think it's interesting because he said he brings a unique blend of left brain and right brain skills.
Mm.
He's an aerospace engineer, so he can be very technical, very logical, very strategic. And on the other side, he's been making music for his entire life and plays guitar, bass, and drums. So you know what? If he makes it far enough, he can form a band with Annie.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I know. I can't wait to talk about Annie.
Yeah.
He also did say that players should not be forced to risk their vote. So
Mm-hmm.
he also gets a gold star for that. He said that
Yes.
players should have more agency over their own game. So thank you, Stephen. The
Yeah, he
other
called it a
component,
hot take. It is not a hot take.
it is
It is
not
a correct take.
100% correct. So Stephen, yes, you do get a gold star for saying that.
Yeah, he even
I
he
the
even he even said, "I think it sucks." I think Survivor should be about the choices that the players want to make, and if a player
Yes.
wants to risk their vote, that's their prerogative, and they can do that, and they can take that gamble. But they should
Mhm.
have more agency, over it.
Yeah, I love all of those things.
Hmm.
Uh, I do love that he analogized himself. I want to work like a supermassive black hole.
Yes. Okay. I wrote down the same thing. I guess it just,
Fine.
you know,
So funny. Find stars that are burning brighter than me and hide behind them. And I loved that, like, analogies,
mhm.
considering, he works for NASA, but also I appreciate that approach as well. But again, it does seem like there's multiple people on not just this in his tribe, but this season who are taking that. They want to take the same approach. They want to hide behind someone, and there's only so many people you can hide behind, right? So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to find that person, because the other person on his tribe that seemed to reference him and he referenced as well, which again there's this weird
Mhm.
connection, is Matt. And so Matt also wants to take that same role where I want to hide behind somebody, and Steven's like, I want to hide behind somebody. Are they going to try to hide behind each other? It'll be fascinating to
It'll just
see.
be.
Right? Like, but I do think that dynamic would be a very interesting one to see come together, a Steven and Matt duo.
Mhm.
I'm very intrigued to see what that would look like. He's a lover of Rupert. Matt reminds him of Rupert a little bit. So there's some things there that could be fun to watch for sure.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I'll bring his picture back up here. Do you think they told him unbutton more of those buttons on your shirt? Like, let's just go down, halfway to the belly button there.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised considering some of the things I was told. Well, actually, it's not even a full unbuttoned shirt. If you look at it, it only goes down,
Oh, you're
like, it's
right.
all unbuttoned.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, he
like
it's fully unbuttoned as far as it goes. It only goes halfway down.
I will mention this. I don't know if I've ever said this on this show, but I'll throw it out there. I was told by production to look a particular way the evening that I did pick the Black Rock. I just want y'all to know that, like, I was one of the players that always wore the same thing to tribal council because I was like, these are my clothes and this is what I'm wearing. I wasn't trying to turn it into like a fashionista moment or anything. But I was told to keep my hair down and make sure I wore my glasses. And I was like, okay. So I just say, I'm not sure why, but that's what production
Well,
told
they
me
were
to
hoping you could see in the bag and not pick the rock. Apparently, you did not listen very well.
Apparently I didn't. I didn't do anything they told me to do. They were like, they tried to help.
Yeah.
But anyway, so maybe they did. Maybe they're like, listen, let's let all that chest show. Come on.
All right. Well, let's look at our tribal prediction here for this group. Right off the bat, I mentioned that I had a good feeling about Jason. And here's the thing. I like Christina and Steven, and yes, even Sophie. And I have to root for the oldest guy. So that only leaves one person, MC and her binge watching. It's hard to predict her going out first because she has the muscles that I think they'll want to keep, but I think I know who you're going to predict.
Oh, yes.
But I'm gonna predict MC, and it's the anti-binge bias that I have in my head.
And I don't disagree. Like, I have that same bias as well. The only saving grace that I think MC has are the people that are on the tribe with her. And I do think that Christina is one of those individuals because they both referenced each other as well. Like when I went, and I know that you didn't spend a lot of time on this. I, for whatever reason, I'm kind of fascinated by it. But you have Christina, MC, and Jason who have all mentioned each other in some way. So that's 3. You have Matt and Steven who also mentioned each other. And so that's 5. And that leaves Sophie with nobody. And so if there is going to be any type, like if those relationships do create, if they are created and they form a bond, Sophie's going to be the only one who's like kind of the odd man out. And so I am curious to see if those relationships form and if the Matt and Sophie thing really comes to a head. But I worry about Sophie. I feel like she, out of all of the personalities, she seems to be the one that is the most desirous of like being in charge and taking control, and that might rub the other individuals the wrong way because they all want to hide behind someone else. They all want to have a little, and so like I don't feel like
everybody's hiding behind Sophie. Right. As they push her, and it'll be like dominoes. They'll all push forward and she'll go off the cliff.
Yes, Sophie has to go first. So unfortunately, I'm looking at Sophie, and I'm looking at Sophie only because of the dynamics of this particular group. I think Sophie as a player is someone that we can appreciate the components that she wants to bring to this game. Clearly, she's got something that CBS was really excited about because they brought her back. And also look at what I said about Rachel. So what do I know? I know nothing, but just because of the dynamics, I think that Sophie might be in a tough spot.
Okay. So as far as the opposite, who will go the furthest from this tribe? It's hard for me to say.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it could be any of the 4 other than Matt. I like him. I don't think he's going the furthest.
I agree. I agree.
I do think you probably have some correct takes about Sophie there. What the heck? Let's just say that the person who goes the furthest is the person who is also planning to send people the furthest and go with Steven.
Oh, interesting. I'm bouncing back and forth between Christina and Jason as who I think might go the furthest.
I mean, I think that's right, Jason. God.
Yeah.
You know what? Sorry. I meant to say Jason. I forgot that I had intended to, mention him.
Well, why don't you say Jason, then I'll say Christina, and we'll do it that way.
All right.
That's where we'll fall.
And then if it's Steven, I'll say, oh, yeah, that's what I meant. You can go back and listen.
Yeah, Jessica threw me off there.
Yeah, it's Jessica's fault, obviously.
How dare she?
All right, moving on to the Kele tribe, who wears blue. We start with Alex. He is 27. He grew up watching Survivor with his family. He was in a Survivor club in high school. He's a political comms director originally from Evanston here in Illinois, which is a Chicago suburb. And now he lives in Washington, D.C. Now, he did not give details about who he works for.
He didn't. He was so secretive.
He wasn't secretive enough because it's pretty easy to figure it out.
Did you Google?
I didn't need to Google. I knew who it was based on his description. He's from Evanston, and he mentioned that he works for an 80-year-old congresswoman. It is Representative Jan Schakowsky.
Oh, and she wants him to find a girlfriend. Love that.
It also means he'll be looking for a new job soon because she announced this is her last term of office. She's retiring, which, yes, when you get to be 80, you probably should. I mean, if you're with it, you want to keep going, fine, but
sure,
enjoy your life. Yeah.
And the thing is, one reason I know this is there's a big battle for her seat, even down here, 3 hours south of Evanston, 3.5 hours south of Evanston. I know there's a big battle for her congressional seat, not between Republicans and Democrats. It's all Democrats. I mean, I'm sure there will be Republicans in the race, but they won't win. But one of the people running is a former political podcaster whose boyfriend is the owner of The Onion.
Oh, look at you with all of this extra.
Yes. So that's why I just knew immediately when he said an 80-year-old congresswoman and he's from Evanston, I immediately knew. Now, I have to root for the Chicago suburb guy, even though he went to Northwestern, which is my Illinois in-state rival. And my brother went to Northwestern.
Oh, gosh.
So the funny thing is he said he'd play the most like Sam Phelan, who, of course, was another Chicago suburb guy. And he even said he'd be the glue guy like Sam. But beyond that, he wants to be the one his tribe mates can't live without. I mean, you can't live without glue. He plans to have close individual connections like glue. With each of them, he will put a smile on their face when times are tough. He wants to be their go-to friend, but he'll also be sneaky, so they'll think he feels one way, but he won't be showing his cards because, after all, he works in politics. So while other people think they're friends, he will be plotting their demise.
Yes, but he also mentioned having trouble with cute girls. So we'll see how this, what I thought was fascinating about him as well? He was kind of a mixed bag because he talked about how people always come to him with their secrets, but that he likes to share people's secrets. So it was like, I thought that was interesting where okay, well, then that's a weird mix. But if he plays those cards right during the game, if people are coming to him and he knows how to divulge their secrets without them knowing that he's doing so, perhaps he's learned how to do that in the political world. I don't know. But that would be an interesting component that he could bring to this game is if he's able to create those relationships and then share that information, planting of the seeds kind of idea. So I don't know, but he was, I think he was he's kind of like this fun, quirky character, but I'm not sure where that's going to land him because he's another one who wants to hide behind someone, and he happens to want to hide behind Jake, who is on his tribe.
I mean, so several people could hide behind Jake. Let's face it.
Everybody can hide behind Jake, but he referenced that specifically, and we haven't talked about Jake, but Jake actually referenced Alex as well. So we have another one of these weird little relationship potentials happening. So he might find himself in a really good place in this tribe because of, again, the dynamics of what everyone else wants around him.
Yeah. Now, wisely, he doesn't plan to let people know he works in politics. He notes that could cause divisiveness. So he's following the part of Rule 5 that thankfully doesn't come up very often these days about keeping your politics to yourself. He's going to tell people he's a public affairs consultant in D.C. I'm not even sure what that is. And hopefully for him, nobody else will know either. Now, unfortunately, Alex thinks going far in this game involves going on journeys and searching for idols early in the morning before everyone else is awake, while he also tells people that he's seen others looking for idols. This sounds great in theory. Let me emphasize, in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at least he's among the others this season who says he hates it when players tell others they found something.
Yeah. So again, he gets a gold star for that.
Right. All right. We can move on to Kimberly, who will not be known as Kimberly because she goes by Annie. She is 49, a musician and CEO, originally from Austin, Texas, now in Portland, Oregon. She has been watching since the beginning, but she doesn't call herself a super fan because she watched out of order. Sometimes she couldn't tell you who won. And I like that honesty because we've seen other players who are like, I've watched all the seasons. I'm a super fan without really realizing what it means to be a super fan.
Right. Yeah.
Now, Annie is very physically fit. She's done triathlons, lots of running, Ironmans, adventure races. So even though she only found out a month beforehand that she'd be on the show, she was at least physically prepared. But she wisely noted, I've never done anything, especially competitive, that involves a social component like this. I never played team sports. Being in a band is the first time I've ever done anything that's kind of a group thing where we're trying to get to the goal together. Everything's always been an independent struggle. And so for me, this is maybe the biggest challenge I've ever undertaken in all the things I've done in my life. And I like this recognition of how it will be different. She even went further, saying the social component scares me to death. This cast, there's a lot of millennials and young people. I don't even know what they're saying half the time. I'm old. I'm 49. So there's a lot of things I have to adapt and learn and pivot to fit into a group like this. Now, first, Annie, you are not old.
Right.
Second, understanding that you need to, as Rule 3 says, be flexible. Well, that's half the battle. Like Rudy said on the very first season of Survivor, I got to fit in, not them. You know, there's more of them than there is of me.
Yes.
And so she's bringing that same good attitude, I feel like.
Yeah. And I do like the fact that she, even though she calls herself old, she doesn't present as old, and she actually prides herself on the fact that she's going to be who she wants to be, regardless of what other people classify her as, right? Where they're like, oh, some of the commentary was, oh, you're dressing too young on her like YouTube channel or whatever. And she was like, forget you. Like, I'm going to do what I want. And I love that about
and then
her
she
as
named her
well.
band that, you know.
Yes, right. Trashy Annie for
Yeah.
anyone who's curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that it's a great type of self-reflection to have when you're playing this game, that you recognize who you are and how you can be perceived, but also you recognize that other people might have some ideas about you as well, but you're not going to necessarily let that negatively affect you. The one thing that I was concerned about her was that she does like being vulnerable, and she likes to say what's ever going on the inside, which if you are struggling with the social component of this game, that might become an issue in this game, because if you start saying too much, you have to know when to not share, right?
Yes.
And so perhaps she's going to struggle a little bit with that. I also did really find the heart goggles to be an interesting analogy that she made as well, because if she likes someone, she's just going to agree with everything they're saying. So whether or not she's going to have heart goggles for anyone on her tribe, I'm not sure, but I do think that she brings a very interesting dynamic to the tribe because of her social concerns, but also the physical component that she will provide as well. So maybe she'll find a good balance between the two. And if she's recognizing that the social component could be a problem, then she'll know enough to kind of back off on that and just let things kind of happen around her. But it'll be interesting to see how she melds the two things together while she's playing this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that she most identifies with Kenzie and Jam Jam, because I
Yeah.
think most people will see her and be like, oh, that's this season's Carolyn. But I feel like she's going to be bringing a different vibe.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that too, because when I first saw her, that's what I thought. And then I listened to her speak and I thought, my gosh, not a chance. I mean, Caroline is lovely, but it is a much different type of person than what Annie is. And Annie appears a particular way. And then you listen to her speak about her accomplishments and the things she's done. And you're like, wow, this is a much different personality all around. So I think it'll be funny to have people learn about her, because they are mentioning her sparkly eyeshadow and her pink hair. And yes, it is a part of who she is, but then she has all of these other components to her background where she's starting companies and doing this amazing work, teaching herself how to play all these instruments. She could start a band, and she's touring and traveling and won awards and all of this amazing stuff that you don't necessarily consider that when you're looking at her, but then you find out later and it's very impressive for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, as a CEO, she said she had to learn how to basically follow Rule 4 and separate business from emotion, making big decisions, firing a bunch of people to keep the business going. I mean, if you can fire people in real life that you've known for a long time, you can vote someone out who you just met. And she knows, she knows trust has no place in Survivor. It is by nature a game of deceit. She recognizes she does trust too easily and she's not a good liar. I think she'll be able to overcome those things.
Because she is acknowledging this is a game of deceit, I think she will as well. I do like that part that she's recognizing this is a game and I have to lie to people too. So yeah.
All right, we can move on to a guy that you mentioned that people are going to be hiding behind.
Oh gosh, everyone talked about Jake.
He is 36, a correctional officer from Saskatchewan, and now in Alberta. He says that the show has been a staple in his family since he was a kid. Jake was one of the most talked about people when it came to other players because, look at him, he stands out.
He does.
Plus, he also does know he has a stereotypical douchebag look. So he knows he needs to change.
His words, right?
Right, his words, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he needs to change some minds quickly by opening up and being himself and being funny right away. Now, the funny thing to me is that I don't think his problem is going to be that he's a douchebag. I think it's going to be that he's too nice because he wants to play like Joe from last season.
Yes.
He even said he wants to set an example that nice people can finish first.
And didn't Joe say the same thing?
Yes, probably. And there are two problems with that. One, nice people have finished first. Many of them. Just look at your season, Jessica. There is nobody in this world who is nicer than Adam.
Yeah.
And even in New Era seasons, Erica, Marianne, Kenzie, Kyle, Jam, these are all nice people.
Right.
Two, I suspect that he means it, not that they're just nice people, but that they play nice.
Yeah.
And in that case, no, sorry. He said in his official pregame questionnaire, he doesn't want to change his core values for a better shot at the game. And I think he was talking about Joe when he said we both. And he also said, I'm not going to change who I am. Being me got me to where I am today. So why change what I'm doing? Well, the answer is Survivor is a game, not real life. Your core values don't apply here. And guess what? Joe didn't win.
Yeah, I mean, Joe made it to the end. Didn't win, but made it to the end. But I think, I think for Jake, though, despite the fact that he wants to take on that good guy persona and prove that you can win by being a good person, which all of those things are lovely attributes to have, the biggest component of Jake is going to be what else he brings to the tribe, and that's his size and strength. He's clearly the strongest person that's been cast, and everyone's looking at Jake and everyone's recognizing that Jake is like who they want to hide behind and who they're hoping is on their tribe. So Jake's going to find himself in a lovely place right off the rip just because of his physical attributes. And then on top of it, they're going to find out, well, he's a really nice guy who then is probably not going to be a threat to their game because he's just trying to play the game nicely. And also, I'm going to win for my tribe. So he is certainly going to do well because of those other attributes. Even if he wants to convince himself it's because he's a nice guy, it's because he has really big muscles and he's going to be able to help them win challenges. Yeah.
I wonder how much milk he drinks a day.
We're going to have another milk commercial here in a minute.
I will say that Jake gave me this tiny little sliver of hope by saying that while he's coming in being loyal and honest, he knows he might have to go behind people's backs. He doesn't want to. And if he makes top 3, he wants to be able to tell them he was completely honest and loyal to all of them. And if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. So I'll just say it now. If you play that way, you don't. But
Yeah.
that sliver of hope comes back where he says he might change it in a couple days. Well, we'll see.
We will,
Because
and that is, we'll see. Yes.
yeah. But also Jake says he's too nice. It'll be hard to vote people out, but he has to keep telling himself it's a game. And I'm like, yes, please tell yourself that, even when it comes to backstabbing and lying.
Right, right. Well, he also referenced Alex as someone that he thought was another version of himself. He thinks they're the same person. And he also would like a younger, he mentioned he wants a younger female so he can mentor that person. And so, knowing who we're going to be discussing shortly, I think we have a very interesting little trio possibly happening here, just in regards to how this, again, relationships could form, because Alex wants to hide behind him, and Jake has mentioned Alex as well. And there is another individual on their tribe who mentioned both Jake. So I think we might have a little trio happening here even before
Okay.
the game starts.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to say, Jake seems like a nice guy. He decided to play while his first baby was being born, so his dad could see him play before he loses his eyesight. So there's a lot of emotion wrapped up, just like there was a lot of emotion wrapped up in it for Joe. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go easy on the strategic side. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think we are going to see a lot of what we saw with Joe, which, not speaking ill of Joe, but the strategy component versus the nice guy, it can only get you so far.
Yeah.
But second place, I guess, better than
Yeah.
a rock.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
All right. Well, we can move on to Jeremiah, who is 39 and a global events manager, whatever that is. I mean, like, he explained it in the interview, and I still have no idea what it means.
Right? I
From
was like, what is this
Ontario.
guy's awesome
Yeah.
job?
Yeah.
I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned with whatever you do, Jeremiah. I would like to do the same thing, because it just sounds like you're doing awesome stuff.
Yeah. He's watched Survivor for 24 years. He seems to have a really fun personality. Indeed, he thinks he'll play most like Jam Jam. But even with that, I just did not get much from the interview. He talked about gaining weight, losing muscle, did puzzles, couldn't do fire making practice. I don't know how he's going to play. He's watched Survivor all this time, and I still don't know how he's going to play. Did you get anything more out of it? Did I miss something?
Well, I got a very interesting little snippet from something else that I saw, where he was describing his spirit animal is the panda bear, which that is my spirit animal as well. So I can very much appreciate his explanation that panda bears are big and fluffy, but they have really sharp teeth and claws, and you'd never expect that. And that's why I love panda bears, because they seem so unassuming and unthreatening, and you just want to cuddle and hug them and love them, and you forget they're a bear, right? And so if that is what Jeremiah is going to be bringing to the game, where he does seem very like unassuming, non-threatening, I'm just this nice person, and look at me, and I can get along with everybody, but I'm really gonna be like the panda bear that you don't see coming. I'm hoping that that's what we get from Jeremiah, because that's what he was actually associating himself with. And I loved that component. But he did reference the whole I voiced too much of my thoughts, and his father telling him to go talk to a tree.
Yeah.
I thought was really quite hysterical, because he is going to have to keep some things to himself, right? And he's not going to be able to bounce everything off of someone, which sounds like he likes to be able to do. So he will have to contain that portion of himself. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do so or not, but he did reference, if we're going back to relationships, really liking Sophie, who is on his tribe. And I figured that out because of the blue fingernail polish is what he was referencing. So he is very much interested in working with Sophie. So that is another potential for a relationship here. But yeah, I mean, as far as his game is concerned, I do think that he's an incredible achiever. Has done, anyone who says they're going to go climb Mount Everest and nobody thinks twice about it, you must just be a really impressive person, right? Because if I started telling my family that, they would be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He says it, and they're just like, "Oh, that's Jeremiah."
Yeah, and the friend is like, "Can I come?" No.
Right? Like, who is this person? And this is what I'm talking about. Like, these incredibly fascinating individuals whose lives are like, these are characters. These are not real people. Like, this is a movie person. Like, who are you, Jeremiah? And how are you living life this way? I would like to know. Please write a book. Help me out. Give me some direction. So as far as his game, I'm fascinated just because he has done such incredible things. And if people think you can go climb Mount Everest, you must be physically strong. He swam in the Antarctic. Isn't that one of the things he talked about too or something?
Yeah, I mean, he said for like 7 seconds, which is probably about as long as, I mean, it's 7 seconds longer than I'm ever swimming in Antarctic. I mean, I was visiting my son and daughter-in-law in Texas when it was the winter and their pool was cold and I'd only go in like up to my waist. So
so he is clearly an impressive person.
Yeah.
So he's kind of an unknown as far as how he'll play his game, but it sounds like he's going to bring some very interesting things to the game. And Panda Bear, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Now, one problem I saw was Jeremiah's thinking about journeys, which was illogical. We and many of his castmates, have talked about how terrible they've been recently and said, stay away from them. He saw it and he said, oh, that means they're due for good ones because the past have been so terrible. It's like, no, you've been watching this game for 24 years. That is not how Jeff Probst work.
No, definitely not how Jeff
There's
Probst
no
works.
such thing as being due. It reminds me of the people who are like, oh, this hitter has been in a slump, so he's due to hit a home run. No,
right.
He's been in a slump. He's probably going to strike out. There's no such thing as being due. So that idea of I'm going to go on a journey because it'll probably be great. Boy, are you going to be surprised.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be great there.
Yeah. All right. I still have no idea how he's going to play, but we'll move forward on that. I'm hoping it's the Panda Bear way, like you said.
I'm hoping so too, because I love the Panda Bear idea.
Yeah. So next up is Nicole. She is 26 and a financial crime consultant, originally from Long Island and now in Philadelphia. She's watched Survivor with her siblings, roommates, and girlfriend. So here's my question. Is a financial crime consultant like someone that the mob hires to help them succeed and not get caught? She didn't say a financial crime solving consultant. She said a financial crime consultant. Like
said she was anti-crime though. Anti-crime.
Oh, sure.
She did say that. So
I mean, if I want to commit a financial crime, I know who to get as a consultant, I guess.
Yeah, she'll tell you. Well, it is fascinating what you can learn about what to do and not to do when you are involved in law enforcement. So she's probably learned all kinds of things to do and not to do when you want to commit a financial crime. But she did say anti-crime, so
okay,
you have to
she's gonna have to figure out
that's what she's doing.
How to steal $1 million from someone else here.
Well, I like that. That's
yeah. Now here's the thing. I don't think she's gonna do it. She describes herself as being the love child of Boston Rob and Shambo, which is not a pairing I ever thought I'd hear. She wore hearing aids as a child and still doesn't have great hearing, but she can lip read and pick up on body language. But however, she can't hear if someone is whispering. So it's a good thing she's not in Big Brother because they're whispering all the time. It'll be interesting to bond over that with Steven if they both make it to the merge. She said her kryptonite will be she can be impulsive. Quote, if I have my mind made up and it's made up in that moment, I can totally see myself doing it and acting on it in the moment, as opposed to methodically thinking about that, the aftermath, the subsequent consequence, all that stuff. Yeah, that's not great. I mean, entertaining to watch probably, but not good for her game.
Yeah. I mean, she did say that she believes that she's going to be unassuming and that people will believe that she's just funny and not realize that she's as smart as she is, which is a great thought to have about yourself, that people won't see you as necessarily strategic or threatening in a particular way. But I also have there's something I worry about her meshing with the group that she's in as well, because again, I'm going back to all of the ideas that other people had about who they want to work with. And she didn't seem to be someone that was mentioned. I think only one person mentioned her specifically. And then no one on her tribe mentioned her specifically. And I don't know if she's going to be able to find that place that she needs to be in this particular group.
Yeah, and especially how she messes with Jake, because she said she'll be upfront that she's not there for this honesty BS and won't be voting for someone like that to win at the end.
Yeah.
She said it's, quote, stupid. Talk about a one-dimensional game. You want to be honest? Go to the Olympics. Go on. American Ninja Warrior. Join the Catholic Church. And, cheers from me to Nicole for that. I just hope she doesn't say it too loudly, or I think Jake could target her if she starts talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree. And I think that he will have more of an ability to create a following if needs be, because we've already talked about how so many people want to hide behind him. I don't think people are going to want to hide behind Nicole. And so I do think if a choice need be made, it's going to be Jake over Nicole.
Yeah. Now, I do want to know, on a separate thing, where she and her family lived in Ohio when they opened that deli, because I know of one in Columbus and I know of one in Cincinnati. Now, it seemed to be that she was talking about a more rural place, but I don't know if that's where they opened the New York Bagel Deli.
But again, like impressive, like they moved from New York and they all missed the bagels and they're like, let's just open a bagel shop and let's just start making our own New York bagels. And then they open a bagel shop and they ship the water in from New York. Like, what is happening? I'm just stunned.
I do think shipping in the water is a little bit much. Like, okay, I understand wanting to be authentic, but really, New York water?
Listen, I'm just saying, this is the entire cast. Everybody's story had me just scratching my head going, what is going on? These amazing, just absolutely incredible backstories.
All right. Well, let's move on to the second Sophie, who has one less letter. Sophie with an I.
Yes.
She is an entrepreneur from Miami. She discovered Survivor from her grandmother, who learned to speak English from the show. Sophie believes she will be underestimated at 5'2" and 110 pounds, but she sees it as a good thing, so people are not worried about her. Quote, and then when they don't expect it, I'll come for you. Now, the problem, of course, is if there's an early vote while people are still judging her that way, like if they lose the first immunity challenge, the last thing you want is to be underestimated. However, she does want to align with the biggest dude or the biggest girl possible. In this case, it'll obviously be the biggest dude. And compared herself to a remora with the big fish, protecting the small fish as her meat shield. And, she does have Jake on her tribe. So we usually say the best laid plans often don't work out. This one I can see working, especially if she plays up to his whole honesty shtick.
Oh, 100%, because she already said she thinks that she's got the big guy wrapped around her finger and the game hasn't even started yet. So I think that is definitely going to work in her favor. I think she's already started down that path and that Jake is going to fall right into it. She also has Jeremiah, who is interested in working with her as well. So I think she's going to find herself in a very good place with this particular group.
Yeah, and even if she plays up to his honesty stuff, she does not plan on being honest at all. She wants to play a really cutthroat game. In fact, she hit the high points of Rule 4 by saying she believes she can split emotion from game is going to weaponize emotion by making real, genuine relationships and friends who will never see it coming. And I like this quote: to win, you have to be the most loyal to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that component about her as well, because I do think that she is going to come across as non-threatening, but has the ability to understand what the real, like, the whole thing we say all the time, you have to play this game to win. That's the way Sophie's approaching
Right.
this game. Like, I'm
Right.
going to approach this game to win because it's about me. It's not about everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Jake's like, well, I mean, if I finish second, I finish second. It's fine.
Yeah.
So then Sophie could be like, look at me, I'm winning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So heading to this tribal prediction. You said this earlier. It's almost guaranteed Jake will make the merge. I just don't see them voting him out early, especially if he is indeed a nice guy. On top of that, I also don't see him making it to the end unless he changes his plan strategy significantly. Although, like you mentioned, he could go the Joe route. If they all know, if they realize, like, oh, he's never going to win because of the shit,
right,
then yeah, they take him and he loses. I twice in a row, I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, I can't either.
And what I worry about is there could be a clash between him and Nicole, considering their opposing views on playing honestly. And while Sophie may pair up with him and, as we mentioned, take it far. So, yeah, I mean, I think Jeremiah seems fun. Like I said, I don't know how he'll play. I keep coming back to the clash between Jake and Nicole. And I just worry she's going to get the short end of the stick and go out first for this tribe.
I agree wholeheartedly with that prediction as well. I do think that Sophie is going to pull people in, and I think that's going to include Jake. I think it's going to include Jeremiah, and I think Alex and Jake are going to come together. So that's 4 already. That leaves Annie and Nicole on the outs, and I think between the two, I think Annie is probably going to find a way to ingratiate herself better with that group. And it is going to come down to a dynamics issue between Jake and Nicole. And I worry about Nicole on this group as well. Mm-hmm.
So as for who will go furthest, I'm going to say Sophie.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Okay.
Look at us.
Yeah.
We're agreeing.
All right, we can move to the Uli tribe or Uli. I don't remember how it's pronounced. I'm not sure we know. But
that is fair.
They're the red tribe. We'll just go with that.
Yes.
We start with Jawan. He is a video editor, originally from New Jersey and now in LA. He grew up watching Survivor, studied Mike Bloom's videos to help get on the show, and has even watched RHAP Blood on the Clock Tower videos. So, Jawan, if you're watching this too, hello.
Hey, yes, welcome. And I do love that he was so funny with Mike Bloom during the like, it was very, very cute.
I love the call out to Sean Rector as the player he most identifies with, which is a good indication of his super fandom, even if we didn't know the other things he mentioned. Jawan prepared by trying to focus on puzzles and fire making. He believes he makes friends really easily, though he does wonder if he'd be willing to cut them when he needs to.
Yeah.
I like the understanding of himself that he shows when he says things like, I would love to sit up here and lie. I'm like, oh, I'm going to backstab, do this. But at the end of the day, I really care about people too. So if there's a way I can put people to sleep in a nice way, that sounds so bad. I got to do it in a way where I can sleep at night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he did. I mean, he talked about, in addition to like really caring about people, which is why it's going to be a struggle for him, but he also recognizes or believes that he is not going to appear to be much of a threat. Like, he described himself as like a goofy nerd, and he's fine with being in the background. He's another one who doesn't want to be the center of attention. Yeah. Like, I'll be in the shadows. You can trust me with the information. I can be your right hand. He mentioned Jake as well. But Jake is not going to be on his tribe. But I do think that he might have the ability to fall into that place well, because there might be enough happening around him that he won't necessarily be the center of attention. Because I do think there's someone on his tribe that's going to be more of the center of attention, and it won't be Jawan.
Yeah. I think all of those are good qualities that you mentioned. And plus, he has good thoughts on journeys and advantages, saying, I'm not getting on that damn boat. You can't make me get on that boat.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And his strategy is allies over advantages. And if he does find something, he's not going to tell anyone, even his tightest allies. So
Good for him.
Yes, he gets a gold star for that.
Right. Obviously, I'm rooting for Jawan, especially when he acknowledges it's easy to get overwhelmed with all the information he's gained from podcasts, but he plans to be in the moment while tapping into the RHAP knowledge. So
excellent.
All right. Did I even put him up and take him down?
Yes, you did.
I did. Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. Next up is Nate. And he is 47 and a film producer in California, including some of the biggest Marvel movies.
Again, what world are we living in? I'm sorry.
The Marvel-verse.
Which, by the way, Sophie is a Marvel, super fandom person. So he was wondering if anyone's going to recognize him. And I feel like Sophie might be like, oh.
I mean, I don't know. My son is a Marvel super fan person, but I don't think he'd recognize a producer from the show.
I guess it depends on what's your super fandom.
Right.
Like if you are someone who's interested in how movies are made and who's making them.
Right.
Also, Jawan is in LA, doing editing for awesome stuff too, right? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if anyone. I was curious about that, but I thought, well, that's interesting that we do have the Marvel connect there.
It is funny because both Jawan and Nate said, well, I couldn't exactly practice fire making in the middle of LA.
Right.
Now he watched season 1 in the basement of a frat house and has watched every episode, some more than once, and even Australian Survivor. Like a few of the others we've heard from, I mentioned the fire making, but he has practiced puzzles. On top of that, he shares our correct opinion and hates Final Four fire making. Plus, he said, I don't like anything where it's just about random chance. If it's just about rolling dice, no thank you, because that's just not fair. Those people didn't choose the journey, and now they have a thing up to chance, so there's no control. You should have to make a decision that's fair. As soon as there's no control, I feel that's unfair. Jeff Probst, please pay attention to these interviews. Please.
I don't know. Does he won't listen to us.
No.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I do love that he talked about this being a game that requires lying, but we don't all have to be sociopaths about it. So
yes.
That was great.
I don't know. To me, I'm like, sure you do. Come on.
He is someone who was mentioned by a lot of people. I think he unfortunately made it very well known that he is a bit of a super fan by things that he was seen doing at Ponderosa by writing down all of the winners in order.
Yes.
So that's going to definitely put a little bit of a nugget in someone's brain that you really understand and know and have been watching Survivor. But his presence has clearly left made a statement at Ponderosa. And I think just listening to him speak, it's almost like he could lull you into a sense of security. So I do see him being a very interesting component in this tribe because he will, I think will just lull people into that sense of security and also just be a presence in this group because he's already been noticed so much up to this point. But I just found his presence to be an interesting dynamic. And I think that with this group, it is going to be, I don't want to say father figure because it's not father figure. There's something else there that I feel like he'll be someone people will feel safe coming to and talking to just because of the way he presents himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as his game, he doesn't seem to think, he'll be a big threat. He's older. He likes to laugh. I like that he called himself pathologically sarcastic. He thinks he'll be underestimated long enough to snuff all their torches. But then there's these weird things he said. I mean, he only had a couple weird things, but enlisting what he wanted for an ally, he included a connection to God. And I'm really not sure what that has to do with being in an alliance on Survivor. Are you going to base your alliance on prayer groups? I don't understand.
No. Well, there's someone on his tribe that
seen that. Yes, I know.
Might want to do that.
Well, it depends. Maybe they have different views. But I mean, to me, that's just one weird hitch in what he said. Because, like, in other ways, he echoed a lot of our thoughts by saying he doesn't think the winner should be the person who had the most idols or won the most challenges or had the biggest moves, and said, going back to season 1, the show was always built to explore how people relate to each other and whether or not you can get people to work, sometimes against their own interest, to get you to the end. The notion of flashy moves, to me, is oversold. So he's certainly right about all of that.
Yeah. And he did say that a superpower is making people feel comfortable and heard, which in this game, that's a very great quality to have.
Yeah. All right, so we go from a guy who wants to, someone who has a connection to God as their ally, to someone who is a god, Riz God, aka Rizzo, because he, even though that's the introduction we get of him, he does say he's not planning to tell the rest of them that he calls himself that.
Which is hysterical. That is the name he gave himself.
Yes. So he's 25. He's in technical sales in Yonkers, New York. I have no idea where Yonkers is in New York. Is it closer to you or closer to New York City?
New York City.
Okay. He has watched since he was a kid and considers himself a super duper fan and a student of the game. He told Mike Bloom he lives, breathes, and dies Survivor. In fact, he said your season is when he really got into the online Survivor community.
Yes, and he might have just picked someone as someone he identifies with the most for my season as well.
He did. That would be David Wright, although he wants to play like JT and Token Teens, which I sure hope he finds a Steven Fishback, because we know what JT plays like when there's no Steven around.
Listen, he did give a whole almost like history of JT and how he's underestimated because of the games that came after. And I thought it was an interesting little JT spin.
I think he's appropriately estimated because of the games that came afterwards.
Not according to Riz God.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. The only Riz God that I recognize is Cubs World Series winner Anthony Rizzo, who officially retired yesterday as we're recording this. So, but this Riz God wants to chase greatness in another way and be one of the best players to ever play this game. He said Survivor takes emotional intelligence, patience, social skills, and a ton of luck. And he thinks he has all of those qualities. He mentioned essentially several rules at once, saying he's adaptable, fun to be around. And in the new era, he says social game prevails overall. I disagree with that last part because it's an oversimplification. We won't dive into that now, but there's a reason rule 1 is rule 1.
Well, when you say that you're the man, the myth, the legend, I mean, he is coming into this game thinking very highly of himself and his ability to play the game, which it can be a great thing to have if you keep yourself in check at the same time.
Right.
Like knowing that you have all of this confidence about yourself. And he does also talk about the human component of the game, that he knows that he's going to be able to comfort people. And that, he did say that, his weakness is probably being too confident. So again, he recognizes that about himself. And so if he does all of those things to minimize his confidence level, then I think he's probably going to find himself in a good place, just because, again, knowing what you bring to the table and knowing how people can perceive you and understanding how that can be perceived and work against you is definitely to your benefit. And as long as he keeps that all in the right place, I think he can find himself in a really good spot in this tribe with this group, because he is recognizing those things about himself, and he likes David Wright. So,
yes.
I mean, I love David. So
yes, we both do. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned confidence, and I know it's shocking that a man who nicknamed himself Rizgod would say this, but he said, I think my biggest weakness is probably sometimes being maybe too confident.
Yes.
A lot of qualifiers in there, but here's
maybe too.
Probably maybe, yes. He's young, but he seems older, which I would not have guessed from the initial promos where he declared his nickname. But I think all the time he has spent helping his parents, helping to raise his younger siblings, I feel like that has really forced him to grow up more than many others. And I do believe that will help him in the game.
Yeah, I don't disagree, because there is something to be said about maturing at a very young age. When you're doing your parents' taxes at 14,
Yeah.
my gosh, that's crazy. And that is a lot of pressure to be putting on yourself, but also recognizing what that can generate in a human being is just becoming established and understanding things and just maturing beyond your years. So yeah, he's 25, but he might not present as a 25-year-old, and he doesn't sound like a 25-year-old. So I do think that there is some Adam components there as well, with the super duper fandom, and also having that like exuberance about him, but knowing enough to pull back when he needs to is what I'm hoping for Riz God, who knows enough not to tell people his nickname is Riz God.
Yes. All right. Well, we can move on now to Sage, who is 30 and a clinical social worker, originally from North Carolina, now in Olympia, Washington. And she was an alternate for Survivor 47. This is the season of alternates.
Yeah, right?
Sage said people often mistake her as an optimist because of her upbeat energy and quirkiness, which leads people to assume she's naive and fragile. But she will play the long game against them and knows she'll be doing some backstabbing. But the weird thing is, and this is where she lost me, she has some lines she'll be drawing. Some are understandable and correct, like she doesn't want to turn into Rome. Okay, good.
Yes.
But others are arbitrary. Like she'll lie, but she won't make things up about someone's character. She may want someone to go a certain way in the game, quote, but I don't have to do it at the expense of somebody else. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Survivor is a zero-sum game. You're not all coming out of there winners. One person does, everyone else loses. So if you want people to go a certain way, you might have to lie about them and say things that make them look bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand wanting to not play that game. Obviously, that sounds like the way you should be in life, right? Like you shouldn't be trying to hurt people in that particular way or do things to someone in real life, but this is a game for $1 million. And so sometimes it might come down to that, and sometimes you might have to do something that might not sit well with you in real life, but in the game Survivor, you kind of find yourself in a situation where you have to be. I do think that there's kind of like an interesting like mix with her. Like she's it's like the question when she was asked about the one life experience you feel has prepared you for the game. She was like, well, it depends on which facet of the game you're referring to. Like, and she's very compartmentalized, right? Where
Yes.
it's like physically the military, emotionally the trauma, socially neurodivergence, mentally social work. It's like, so she's very compartmentalized, which is probably why she's taking that approach where she thinks I can just do this and not have to do that. And that might work out very well for her in the game if she's able to say, I like this person, but this person still has to get voted out, and I'm okay with it. And she might be able to just kind of take that Genevieve approach that she does reference, right? Where it's just kind of very structured, and I'm not going to turn this into an emotional thing. It's going to just be about this part of the game. So she's a little bit of a mix for me because there's a lot of things happening, but it's happening in a way that's represented by each of those factions of herself. So I'm curious with her. I think most than most people on her tribe. I'm very curious to see how she's going to end up.
Yeah, and like you said, how she can, separate the emotion and still vote them out. She said, if someone's having a human moment with me, I'm going to be a human with you. That could be separate from the game. Like I'm still probably going to vote you out. And I think that's where people are going to really clock me wrong because I can be so in the moment with people. I think they're going to think that gives me a sense of obligation to them. Like, oh, Sage is going to feel bad for me. She's going to feel too guilty to vote me out because we had that moment. It's like, no, that moment I will always cherish and I love it, but I'm going to vote you out and we can talk about it after if that brings up feelings for you. But that's your responsibility to manage those feelings, not mine. This is what I want to hear. This is pure rule 4 there. Yeah. But I don't see how it goes along with the imaginary line. Like that imaginary line seems very, very fuzzy. She'll be fine with getting close to someone and voting them out, but not with lying about it. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is why I struggle with her the most out of anyone on this tribe.
Yeah. Now, she did have a good hot take. She said, you know how people are like, I want to play an honest game and a game with integrity? I don't think that's possible. If your strategy going into it is play an honest game, that is inherently manipulative because you think that playing an honest game with integrity is going to win you $1 million. So it's strategic in itself. And I have to admit, I don't think I've thought of it that way before, but she's right. Being honest is being manipulative because you're using your honesty as a strategy. I like this, Sage.
I do too. And I think it's interesting because if you take that even a step further and you start making that as part of, well, I'm playing an honest game. And we saw this happen, right, with Joe and company, where all of a sudden it was like, well, then it was almost an insult if you were not playing an honest game. And then that became a component of the game that people were playing, where suddenly I don't think you're being honest. And now you're not playing the game that you promised that you're going to play. And so it does become manipulative in a way, because now you're calling people out for not being honest when you're literally playing a game of deceit and deception, which we heard Annie talk about and describe very, very well.
Right.
So yes, I can appreciate that hot take for sure.
Yeah. Now, Sage talked about some mind-body stuff, so I wonder if she'll connect a bit with Shannon. We'll talk about that more when we get to Shannon. Hopefully, Shannon won't be like, oh, your name is Sage. We need to burn you.
You're terrible.
But also to wrap up, this about Sage, I did like this quote. When she was asked, why will you be the sole survivor? She said, I am annoyingly persistent.
Yeah, I liked it too. And she clearly hasn't gone away. She was an alternate. She came, she came back. Yeah. So that's good.
All right. Next up is Savannah. This is the tribe of women with S names. We're going to get scenes in a voting booth of someone writing an S.
Yes. And even an SA if it comes down to Savannah and Sage. We've got, they're definitely going to play with us here.
So she's 31, a former reporter and now marketing specialist, originally from California, now in Atlanta. She says she's been a fan since season 1, and she's usually watched, but she's had some pauses along the way. If there's one theme from Savannah's pregame, it's that she's a good listener. When she was a reporter, she asked questions and listened. When she interviewed people, she listened, and so on. And she learned to take all that information, put it together to figure out the story, plus navigating her way around the gossip of a newsroom. So it'll be interesting to see how she puts that to use on Survivor, because I do think listening is an underrated skill on Survivor, Big Brother, shows like that.
Oh, I don't disagree at all. I think that is such a great skill to have, because like she did say that she thinks that she will be underestimated, but also be considered someone they can trust. But then she's going to be utilizing that information to her benefit. And I do think the idea of the reporter background, trying to pick apart the information, what's important and what matters, how to retell that story to somebody else. I think all of that is certainly going to put her in a very, very good place, because that I do agree. That's a great quality to bring into this game. Yeah. I also love that she mentioned she wants to sow seeds of paranoia, which I love as well. Like, again, picking apart the bits of information she's learned. She also said she's not afraid to steal someone's jacket in the middle of the night, which we've not seen someone do something like that in a long time. We've seen the burning of the hat, I think maybe a sock or two, but it'll be fascinating. I'm very, very intrigued by Savannah and the approach that she's going to take in this game, because she's going to come across, I think, a very particular way, but has plans to be a little deceitful behind the scenes, and I love that.
Yeah. Now, she says her biggest problem will be if she gets upset, it'll show on her face, which is interesting, because it's like, how do you interview people like the one she's described, drug dealers, politicians, etc., if you don't have a poker face? Plus, she said she gets annoyed easily. So she must be able to separate the way she was as a professional from her regular life. If she can carry that into here, I would hope she can do it on Survivor too.
Yeah, I would hope so as well. And I do feel like that's probably less necessary in the work of journalism. If you're interviewing someone, you can have an emotional response to what they're necessarily saying to try to get something out of them, right? When you're asking them
can,
questions,
but
you
like
can.
if you're asking a politician and they give you an answer that totally disagrees with your own views, you can't be like, oh God, you're so dumb. You can't
Well,
have
sure,
that look on
sure.
your face.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean,
I wish they would more sometimes, but
that's
yeah.
fair too. That is fair
Um,
too. But yeah, I think that it will be. I think it's going to be interesting to see how she does, play that into her
mhm.
game for sure.
All right. And it's all been leading up to Shannon.
Sorry, I have to laugh
Oh
because
boy.
I knew that David was going to love Shannon. I
And you
knew
were
it.
not the only one. I heard from other people, like when you get to Shannon's interview, I want to know your reaction. And this is my reaction. Oh boy. She is 28. She is a wellness specialist in Boston. She has a business, Her Vibe, which is a virtual spiritual community for women. She's been watching for 20 years, and Boston Rob used to work at her family's sports bar. Yet she also said she watched 17 seasons in 6 months. So when she says she's been watching for 20 years, I don't know if she's been watching continuously and then wanted to do a quick refresh, or she watched, stopped, and then was like, oh, I got to catch up. And that's a very different thing because we talked about what happens if you're doing
when you cram. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, like I said, I heard about Shannon from people long before I actually read her interview, and I found out why. People know me. People knew how
People
I
do
would
know you.
react to this.
I was listening and I was giggling to myself because I thought, man, I can't wait for David. And then it was
Yes.
the first thing that you referenced to me.
Literally. I mean,
Yep.
we try to keep our notes separate and everything.
Yes.
But yes, that was the first thing I texted to Jessica was, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now, to start on a sort of game related note, she told Mike Bloom she didn't know if she could vote out her number one if that needs to happen. And she said it was because a huge part of my game is being adaptable and being present and being able to respond to each moment versus just react to what I think needs to happen because of what a past player did, or because of what my strategy in my journal is, or because of what my AI guru said. I want to do what feels fully right in each moment, and that allows an ease to the game. Okay. It's great that she wants to be flexible. All the rest of what she said, I don't know how it applies. Either you'll be willing to vote them out or you won't. If there are situations where you will, according to what feels right, then the answer is yes. But also, she's not exactly one for short, direct answers. I mean, I didn't actually compare them, but I feel like she was the longest interview.
Yes. Well, anyone who says the divine is why I'm here, magic is real, and I am constantly inspired by life and the human experience. That's a whole lot of stuff in one sentence, right? Like, I mean, you are like in every facet right there, because it's like divine, but magic, like human. It's like, wow.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. My eyes glazed over multiple times during her interview. And I went in reverse order. So it was the first interview I looked at. So it's not like I was tired and that's why my eyes were glazing over. I can't even talk much about it because it didn't make sense. Like you said.
It
like,
didn't. There was so many things. Our planet has a consciousness. Healing is addicting.
What can I say about AI Jesus?
I
Or
don't know.
union is like union with God, which is full self-actualization, which is full remembrance, which is heaven. Heaven is a frequency that we can create. What is that? That is word salad. That is meaningless. It sounds good in a new age brochure, but there is nothing to that.
No, I know. And this is why I mean, and I want, like, I don't want her to think for one second, like, I can respect anyone's views on life. And if you want to have a spiritual component, that's fine. That's lovely. And that's great. But I truly am of the headspace, like listening to her reading these words, like, why are you playing Survivor? Like, to me, it doesn't seem
because
to
of
like,
AI Jesus.
Because really, it just doesn't seem AI Jesus didn't give you the right idea. Then I don't think to me, like this is not someone who should be playing a game like this, because if you are so spiritually in tune and you are so the divine and magic is real, and I can remember when I was in the womb, all of that's really incredible, but I don't know if that structures
you might almost say unbelievable.
It just seems a little bit, I mean, but she did say that she really, it's like, I don't know if I know my heart is in a really beautiful place, and that ability to genuinely connect and care about others will resonate with my castmates. I really love people in this game. That's very kind and very sweet. But how are you going to play Survivor if it's all a very spiritual, loving, like I feel and magic, and it just doesn't, it to me personally doesn't bode well with doing things in this game in a strategic way, in a cutthroat way, in a deceitful way, in a way that requires you to play Survivor to win.
Yeah. And, like Nate, she said she will value a connection to God in an alliance partner. But with Nate, that was the only kind of weird thing he said. For her, it was just one in a very long, long list. Now, we mentioned Boston Rob was a bartender at her bar, and she still maintains a connection with him. And she interviewed him, I guess, a while ago on her own podcast. When Mike asked her what he told her, I thought this was funny because I did not think this was what we'd get out of her. Because she was so impressed by the advice that he gave, saying you can read a lot by people's body language, by who they're sleeping next to, who they're standing next to at a challenge, who they're eating with. You can really tell who people trust by those kinds of things. And you want to tell if someone's lying to you, ask them a question you already know the answer to. Okay. Those are things that Rob has said so many times. They're literally part of the Survivor lexicon. I mean, some people may not even know Rob was the one who said them, because it is just such a well-known fact. You look at who people are sleeping next to. But she was like, "Oh, this is the great advice that Boston Rob gave me." It's almost trivial at this point.
Yeah.
So I feel like Stephanie can go, or sorry, it gave away what I was going to say here. Shannon can go one of two ways. She could follow the path of Stephanie and be first voted out because her trimates look at her the same way I am. Or she could find a couple of kindred souls. Now, how kindred do you have to be in order to go along with her? I don't know. Is Sage spiritual enough? Is Nate spiritual enough? I don't think Riz God is going to go along with her version of God. But maybe Sage. I don't know. We've seen too many people like this who end up going out very early because, like you said, they're not there to play the game. They're there to experience oneness with the universe.
Yeah, and I feel like there's going to be not enough focus on like gut for her, because it is going to be about what's happening around her and the stars and what's aligning, and it's too spiritual. And I again, that's fine if that's the approach that you want to take in life, that there are signs and that things are happening for this reason or that reason, and that's all lovely. But in Survivor, because people are being disingenuous, because people are lying, because people are trying to win $1 million, the stars are not necessarily going to align, because it is not a game that is fostering that type of space. It's fostering deceit. It's fostering, you have to question what you're seeing, and you have to question who's doing what, which is why you have to rely upon your gut. And so I just don't think that she's going to be able to take those components of herself and put them into this game in a way that's going to work for her, because I just don't think the two things align. She's got some great arms, though, I will say. I mean, my gosh, she's definitely impressed with the physical nature of her arms. But anyway, she's clear. But yeah, I have some concerns for Shannon for sure.
All right. So, tribal prediction. Let's just go ahead and answer the question I just asked a couple minutes ago. I think Shannon is going to go the way of Stephanie. I don't see Riz God wanting to work with her, or I don't even know if he can. I don't think Jawan will mesh with her. He's there to play the game. She's there to be one with the universe. And I think between those two, they can swing the rest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Shannon is going to last long in this particular group.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit concerned for this group, just comparing with the other two tribes physically, how it's necessarily going to go for them in challenges. But yeah, I think Shannon's not going to be in a good way.
Yeah. We'll see how many times I accidentally call her Stephanie.
Yeah, I learned my lesson, okay?
Yeah. No, me. I'm talking about me because
No, I chose Stephanie, remember?
Oh, yes, that's
because
right.
I took a completely
So,
no,
spoiler alert, you're not picking Stephanie as your winner pick? I'm sorry,
Shannon?
See, I already did. See, look at this. I said it and then I did it.
Yeah, no, I will not be picking Shannon as my winner pick. Although I would love her arm routine. I'll ask her for that. Whatever she does to work out her
It'll
arms,
probably be
I'll
something
take.
like I reach towards the heavens,
right?
And I
Something.
pull down the energies. But as far as who will go far, I expect Rizgad and Jawan to go far on this tribe.
Yes, I think that I got to say Rizgad as well, just because we've got the David Wright component and the Millennials versus Gen X connection. So I do feel like I need to also throw a bone Rizgad's way.
All right, it is time for our overall predictions.
Yeah.
This took a little longer than we expected, but like I said at the beginning, it always does. I mentioned that I think the first out on each tribe will be MC, Nicole, and Shannon. And I hate that in listing them, I realize now that I picked a woman on each tribe, but it's just the way it worked out. As far as doing well, I had a whole list of people to choose from as a winner pick. I'm narrowing it down to Jason, Sophie with an I, and Jawan. Those are the three I'm thinking of. And you know me. I'm the home team here. I root for the home team. When in doubt, go with the RHAP person. So I'm predicting Jawan as my winner pick.
Okay. All right. I think Jawan is great. I really appreciate him. I do think that there are a lot of really strong people in this cast overall. As I said, it's a very impressive group of individuals. And I think that there are quite a few that could do great things. But I do think that as far as positioning and how things I anticipate are going to start, I am going with Sophie with just an I as my winner pick. Because I do think that she's going to be in a great place in her tribe to start. And I know that other people and other tribes mentioned her as well. So I feel like when she makes the merge, she'll probably make some connections. So that's my winner pick is Sophie with no E, just an I.
Okay. All right. Well, with that done, I do want to mention that the rules we just discussed are available on a poster.
Yes.
They're behind me here on my screen. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed, scroll down, click on it, order it, and our shipping department will get right on it.
I will.
And then you can keep scrolling. You can get the poster on a t-shirt, which I'm also wearing. And you can keep scrolling and get the checklist on a t-shirt. So again, go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed and click away.
Yes. Are we talking about where they can find us?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, so I am both on Blue Sky and X, I guess it's called now, at Jessica Lewis 89. I realize Blue Sky is much more Survivor heavy at this moment in time. David Bloomberg, listen, He's all over the place. I am also on Instagram at Jessica Lewis 6789, but my social media presence is nothing, literally nothing compared to the man sitting next to me. So David Bloomberg has so many places that you can locate him. He has created a link tree that will allow you to view all things David Bloomberg. So David Bloomberg, where can they find you?
Yes, at Linktree/David Bloomberg, or you can find me directly on Blue Sky, as you mentioned, is at David Bloomberg. Blue Sky has been great for Big Brother discussion. So many of the big accounts moved over there. We need to get that for Survivor. We need to get those alumni. If you're listening, the current players, bring it over to Blue Sky. The discussion is so much better than on that other nasty place. As far as other places you could find me, I'm usually posting 3, sometimes more reality TV short videos every day on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where I'm at David Bloomberg. Right now, of course, mostly Big Brother 27. That will obviously change soon. I also did mini Why Blank Losts for Australian Survivor, Australia versus the World. I recently passed 50,000 subscribers on YouTube and 13,000 on TikTok. So thank you to everyone who is already there. In addition, in the podcasting world, I have, of course, been, as I mentioned earlier, been doing Big Brother Why Blank Losts. So that will continue, culminating with a Why Blank 1 in a couple weeks. And I have been co-hosting the Tradar podcast for the Traders Ireland. I've done episode 3 and episode 6. I will also do episode 9, but then 10, 11, and 12 as well. And you can find that wherever you get podcasts. It's TRAIDAR, and it's on video form in YouTube as well. As we wrap up, I want to encourage people to check out the RHAP patron program at robhasawebsite.com/patron and get access to all the special podcasts that are put out just for patrons, plus Facebook groups and Discord. So please help support shows like ours and everything on the network at robhasawebsite.com/patron. And make sure you're subscribed to all of the RHAP Survivor podcasts by going to, as it says below us, weknowsurvivor.com. You can get all of the various Survivor podcasts there and select your podcast service of choice. Or you can go to weknowrealitytv.com to make sure you're getting Survivor plus Big Brother plus other shows. So, remember, like I said, we will be back in about a week with our special anniversary show, which Rob will be joining us for the first part of, just like he joined me for the first part of Why Blank Lost podcasts.
Yes, that will be lovely. And we would like to thank Rob, obviously, for the incredible work that he does. And the fact that he will be joining us will be incredible. We'd like to thank Scott and Jess and everyone at RHAP for all of the work that you do, both editing, behind the scenes, just amazing work. The artwork, everything that goes into RHAP is so impressive. And people who are all part of this team do great work, not just for our podcast, but the whole community of RHAP. So thank you for that. Thank you to Wolf from America for the theme song that you do hear that is associated with the audio version of this podcast. So thank you for that. And David, we did go over 2 hours. So we're starting off strong for the season to come, but thank you for working through this and also just, getting to hang out with you again. Just a good time. It's been a while.
Yeah. It's fun. It's going to be fun going forward. Thank you, Jessica. And we will be back, like I said, in roughly a week and then weekly after that. So, or you can find us on social media in the meantime and me doing Big Brother stuff. So until then, bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.